It is 7 o'clock in Vancouver in the morning. It's 4 o'clock in Paris. Bonjour, welcome to the Best of France Online 2021 event, Chapter 2. I'll go back on that in a few minutes. I'm Franck. I'm the co-founder of Best of France with Julien. You won't see Julien, he's in the same room as me, but behind the screen is the one playing with all those technical things. A few words first about the Best of France. It's a brand, but it's just more than just a brand. We're as well the place that creates opportunities between Canada and France when it comes to what we think is the best about France, which is like business, education, and tourism. We have Julien and myself experience in Canada for a couple of years, decades even. And we have in France Manuela and Simon, part of the team as well, who help us in that tasks. If you want to know more about Best of France, you can check on us on the website, bestoffrance.ca. All those information will appear on the screen or at the end of the presentation, or you can even on the replay listen to all those information. Again, the website bestoffrance.ca. You can as well follow us on Facebook and be part of the 30,000 over followers that we have. You can follow us as well on the LinkedIn profile. We have 900 followers on this platform, and be part of the 7 followers on the Instagram account. I said earlier that it's our chapter 2. The first one was in June this summer, and we had this online event where we talk about the opportunities for wine and French gastronomy products. That was on the 2 days past in June. This month of October, today and tomorrow, this is all about education. I will come back on that with a description of the agenda that we're going to have for today and the day after, Wednesday. And coming up in late November, and we provide you with the right date for the people who are interested. Special as well event online about tourism in France. I would like to introduce all the different conferences and panels that we're going to have through today and tomorrow. So today we're going to give you all those tips that you want to us to provide information when it comes for you to decide whether or not you want to go to study in France, and if that's the case, what are the again tips and information that you need to know before you make a decision. So it will start first with a conference we're going to launch in a few minutes about making sure that you choose the right program, because as you'll see in France, we have a lot of varieties of different programs available for you guys. I will talk about these financial resources like scholarship, and as well as the administrative part of getting a visa to study in France. We'll talk about next session will be about the accommodation and the best French cities that you might consider to study in. And there's not only Paris, there are other places in France that you might consider. And we'll finish today's sessions with the best advice to prepare your semester in France. That will be already a quite tight agenda. We will have tomorrow, Wednesday, 3 sessions. First will be success stories that we want to have around the panel. Students who had a chance to study in France to share with you their experience. We'll have after that conference about the cultural preparedness kit, what you need to know when you consider to go to a country where people eat snails, but not eat snails. We French people eat frog legs as well, so be ready for that. And we finish up with something that is already existing in Canada and France, all those dual programs that we have available in British Columbia, Alberta, and the rest of Canada with existing universities and in France. Without further ado, I would like to start launching the first conference. I will introduce in few words Eric. Eric will be the moderator for today. Eric is a is a founder of the Candidate Coach, which is a boutique admission consulting and a career coach agency. He serves clients in all over the world. I know Eric from the time he was a director of recruitment for the global MBA program at ESSEC, which is one of the best business schools, I would say, just for any reason I say so, being an alumni myself from ESSEC. And he had the chance to back then to go all over the world to introduce and present the MBA program. So that makes him with a lot of experiences in that area, and that's why now I guess he launched a series of guides, books about MBA He launched the first one, which is getting into MBA in France, getting into MBA in UK, and I guess Eric will confirm that a new one is coming up this month about getting MBA in the USA. Just to finish up about a long career of Eric, he also worked at the Sciences Po and Long Island University, where he's originally from. Eric is a US citizen, but Eric has lived as well in Barcelona, Sydney, States, of course. And I would like to finish by saying that Eric speaks a perfect English, of course, but not only that, French, and I wouldn't be surprised if he speaks as well Spanish. So I have a question for you before we start, Eric.
Yes.
Are you working for the CIA or just like for an East Coast?
I'd
To answer that question.
I can't tell you that.
Thank you very much for your attention. I would like to pass the floor and the mic to Eric to start the conference. Thank you very much for all those audience participants that we have today. We see the number growing up. Again, you will have the chance to have access, and I will come back on that regularly during the session today on replay that when I will be available on our YouTube channel. Thanks very much for your attention. Eric, that's your turn.
Thank you very much, Frank, for that fantastic introduction. I really appreciate it. Once again, my name is Eric Lucrezia. As Frank said, I'm American, originally from New York, and I pretty much grew up going to Montreal, as it's not that far. And over the years, I've gotten to know very well many other parts of Canada, getting to travel for business and pleasure, and it is, a fantastic place. I've also been living here in France for 11 years now. Time has flown. And so we hope to bring you a program today that will give you a lot of insight and answer a lot of your questions. So without further ado, I want to introduce my colleagues who are also here in the panel today. We have Maria and Nathalie, who are both with us. Maria is actually coming from the States, in Wisconsin. And Natalie, I believe, is here in Paris right now, right, Natalie?
Late. So my name is Nathalie Quintin. So you might be wondering, my name is French and Swedish. I'm based in Paris. So my name is Nathalie Quintin at ESCP Business School for about 10 years. I've been responsible for the promotion and recruitment master in management program. Aside from that program, I'm also promoting the Master of Science in Big Data and Business Analytics, and more recently took responsibility of recruiting for a new MSc in Industry Transformation Management, which we will be offering with Centrale Supélec Engineering School here. And prior to working at ESCP Business School, I was working executive education at HEC Paris. So I have knowledge of both postgrad studies, full-time programs, and also executive education. So it's very nice to be here. I'm very happy to have been invited. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Natalie. And Maria, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for hosting us. And a big thank you for those in the West Coast who are up at 7 a.m. to listen to us. So thank you. As Eric mentioned, I'm based in the US, but I do recruitment for the full-time MBA program and the master's program for INSEAD. INSEAD is an international business school. We have a campus in Fontainebleau, which is right outside of Paris. We also have a campus in Singapore and Abu Dhabi. Prior to INSEAD, I did admissions and recruitments for a university here in the US where I'm based. I'm originally from Portugal, but I grew up in France, in Tonon-les-Bains when I was little, so I'm very passionate about studying abroad, and I'm looking forward to answering your questions.
Thanks, Maria. Okay, let's jump into it. So now that we've heard from both of you, introduce yourself, let's dive right into it, some of the interesting stuff for our audience today. Today, obviously, is people in Canada, all over the country, who are thinking about studying in France, whether that could be, at the undergraduate level, master's degree, MBA, PhD, a whole host of things. Obviously, both of you are both from business schools, some of you multiple business schools. Maria, I don't remember if you've worked at other non-business programs in France besides INSEAD.
It's always been a career in business.
Okay. Well, let's just talk about, I'm sure you guys know, and I can contribute as well. what are some of the most popular things that people come to France to study? Whoever wants to take that, and it's kind of free for all. Whoever wants to go.
I'm just guessing probably, the stereotypical things that we hear is fashion and culinary, learning how to do pastry and cooking and even wine making. I think there is even an MBA for wine. So I think those are the things that people think about when studying in France. But of course, there's many more options, and business schools have so many different programs, as Natalie already mentioned some of the ones that she recruits for. So we're here to help you learn a little bit more outside of the pastry and the wine making and the fashion, that in fact there are other opportunities for you to study in France that go beyond that.
Natalie, anything to add to that? Looks like she's dropped out. Okay. Well, just kind of continuing with what Maria said. Yeah, I think France is most known for things like fashion, wine, pastry, and so forth. And for sure, many people come to France to study that. We've all worked in the business school world, so that's definitely some of the where France has big strength. INSEAD, for example, where Maria works, was ranked #1 this year in the world for top MBA programs by the Financial Times, which is a very prestigious status to have, and that's fantastic. Congratulations to you and your team, Maria. But also, people come to France very often to study music, art, fine arts like painting, also engineering, medicine. So it really does range. So that said, I mean, why do you think France remains such a popular destination, Maria, to study?
I myself, I'm always in love with France. I think part of it was growing up in Tonon-les-Bains when I was little, but I think it's a great destination to study. And there's so many different options for schools. The programs are also, a lot of them are offered in English. So if you're in Canada and you're worried about, oh, maybe my French, if you're outside of Quebec, maybe my French is not up to code to study in France, that's never a worry, because a lot of these programs, especially the programs in business, the majority of them will be in English or have an opportunity for you to also learn French. So I think that makes them popular. The other is that they're short. Typically for a master's program or an MBA program, it's a 1 year. At INSEAD, it's 10 months for the MBA. So it's quite short for those of you who don't want to spend 2 years in a program. I think that makes also programs in Europe and in France very attractive for those of you who already have quite a bit of experience, or maybe even if you just graduated from undergrad and you want to do a master's, you could do a 1 year master's or even shorter. So I think those types of features on these programs makes it very attractive. Of course, when you do join, you're going to have a very diverse class. Usually in our class, for example, we have 90 plus nationalities. So yeah, in fact, everyone has an accent. And so if you are someone who's looking to interact with others who are different from you and learn from them, these types of programs are great to build your global network.
Absolutely. I think, languages. Hi, Natalie. Looks like you're back. Can you hear us? Well, let's see if there's a delay. But what Maria was saying, I think is very true. One of the main concerns.
Yes, I can.
Great. From Canada and wherever in the world, one of the primary concerns is language. And indeed, many of the programs are offered in English. So it's definitely worth investigating if the subject matter that you're looking to study does have programs in English. And one of the great places to start with that is Campus France, who I know is partnering with Best of France, at least in part, for this conference this week. So they're a great resource, Campus France, to see what programs are out there. Say you're looking to study medicine, for example, what schools might have something that would be in English. And then, as you mentioned, the duration of the programs tend to be a little bit shorter, as well as the level of diversity a lot higher than we tend to find in North American schools. And while you might have like let's say, racial diversity, for example, in a North American school, many of those people tend to be already based there. I think what France in particular does draw is a high level of international students coming and intercultural diversity, which I think everyone in the program really benefits from. You're not just learning the subject matter, but you're learning about the world and how different countries of the world respond to different challenges and solve problems. I think that is really invaluable. And there's of course the lifestyle here, which a lot of people tend to love. I'm not sure, Natalie, if you're hearing us in time, but if you want to chime in, we're talking about some of the advantages and why people often do choose to study in France.
Yes, I think there is still a small delay. I'm really sorry about that, but hopefully you can hear me.
Yes.
So as you mentioned, France is still a top destination for international students. Research when we prepare for the panel, actually France is number 4 destination for international students, just behind. So we have very strong connections. I looked also what type of studies students embark on, and almost 67% going to universities, and 12% are going to business schools, 7% going to engineering. So I thought that was interesting because we management courses and MBAs are top of mind for a lot of international students. We do have a number of international students who are interested in other topics. And I also noticed that it's mostly degree, so they're interested in number 1 choice, bachelor undergrad programs, and then the PhD. And of course, from choice, from mentioned, the quality of education, the cost of the studies, which are quite, you get the opportunity to you have the language and the culture, you have a lot of work opportunities as well, a lot of internal, so many reasons to come and move France.
Yeah, and it's not just French schools. Also, you have like the American University of Paris, which is very much an American experience, but here, right in the center of Paris. And so you have this sort of bicultural kind of experience. A lot of North American schools also have smaller, like, satellite campuses here. I'm not sure if it's still here, but Cornell for a while had a satellite here. University of Nevada did. So there's these kind of opportunities as well, whether you decide to come for the full 4 or 2 years, depending on the program you're doing, or as an exchange for a portion of your program. So let's say you're convinced. Right? Let's say you're interested in coming to France to study, considering all the advantages. How does one find the right school with so many options to choose from? What do you guys think? What are some of the steps that people considering studying abroad, what are some of the steps they should be taking to find the right school?
Yeah, I think, there's so many opportunities to learn about schools. It depends what types of programs. I think the fairs are, each, whether it's masters or MBAs, there's always fairs. They haven't gone away during COVID. They're online. So those are great opportunities for you to meet with schools. Once you narrow down which schools you're really interested, then check them out online. Their websites, they all offer different events, recruitment events online that you can attend, and then reach out to them. The recruiters like me and Natalie, we're eager to speak with you and answer your questions about our programs. A lot of schools will offer one-on-one. And then they're also the best people to really kind of advise you, to connect you with students or alumni. On LinkedIn, for example, where we're broadcasting this today, you can type in the name of our schools and that will bring you to the university page. And then in there, you can connect with alumni. those are great. A lot of schools will offer online campus visits during COVID. So those are great ways for you to see the campus and then connect with people in those schools. But yeah, lots of different ways that you can reach out. I would say before you reach out, make sure you do a little research about the program on their website, so then you have good questions to ask. But yeah, lots of opportunities to I think the major challenge is narrowing down the ones that you really want, but the fairs are great because there will be a huge group of schools that you can research and talk to reps and alumni. So those are a great starting point.
Yeah, I will say before I ask Natalie that I think COVID has definitely accelerated some things and pushed not only schools, but pretty much every institution on earth to be more accessible and have more online options. You can find out more information and connect with people to get all your questions answered. I will say also that the fact that everything is online as well sort of puts a little bit more responsibility on the person who's researching to do a little bit of homework and do look on the website. They've made the effort to put that information there, and you should take it upon yourself to read through it. I will say also there's, I would suppose, a difference between, if you're at the MBA level, it's kind of expected that you're doing a little bit more of your homework. And, if you're younger, if you're looking at high school or undergrad, there's definitely more hand-holding and accompaniment in that process, depending on what stage you are. So, if you're a young person, don't feel intimidated. You definitely will get the support. And as well, they're used to speaking with parents and guidance counselors to help you with that transition if you're coming out of high school into college for the first time. So don't feel intimidated. Natalie, did you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I will very much, Maria, and you just said that about the different colleges where you would like to, the best way to reach out to the admission staff and details on then of course that's not enough. You have also to contact alumni and ambassadors, because I think if you really want to get the culture of the school, you need to get the information also from the perspective of I think they need to develop short rules, because I get the impression sometimes that students apply in different countries, so I'm not sure if they've already narrowed down a specific country where there were some priorities. And one advice also, of course, look at the rankings. Also make your rankings, because not everything maybe the majority of students are interested in will be a good fit for you. So you really have to look at what type of school you feel for you, what size of class. Maybe if you're very interested in multicultural experience, you might want to look at schools that have different campuses in the world, such as ESCP, for example. So you have to also plan ahead. I think it takes time. You need to do your research, the span of 1 week, that you can figure out what's the best for you. So you really need to make sure you get all the information in advance, so you can prepare college visits if you can, or at least maybe a virtual visit now. To take standardized tests also that needs some preparation and requires some time, and everything that has to do with the application form, etc. So I think it's really looking at different resources, but primarily I would say get something from all the colleges you're interested in, then maybe students and alumni, maybe a work experience somewhere. You might have alumni also in that company or that you work in that know about school, that also their feedback. So yeah.
Natalie, you mentioned a word that's really, I would say, important to me and always in my mind when I think about somebody considering which schools, which options, and that's fit, right? Finding the right fit. So important. I think there's something about having a values match, it's the right culture for you, what kind of like, class size, level of diversity, all those things that you mentioned. And I think, when you don't know enough about something, often we don't know which questions we need to be asking, or just at a starting point, right? So I wanted to be helpful to our audience and maybe give them some of the kind of questions that they should be asking, not only to themselves, but also to recruiters in the admissions office. What do you guys think? What are some key questions that people looking to study abroad should be asking, like I said, first of all, themselves, but also to the schools to find out if it is indeed the right fit?
Yeah, I think the first question is, why do you want to do that ABCD program? And why do you want to go to that ABCD school? Those are very important. And if you don't know the answer to those, maybe start by asking some of the alumni why they went to that program or that school. At this point, if you're looking to do a master's or MBA, you probably have some reasons why you want to do it. If you haven't determined which school, but if you have a few that you are interested about, then I would say start by asking those questions to alumni from those programs. Usually it's a great start. And then from there, you can kind of figure out, okay, is this where I see myself for the next year? Does it have the right culture? If you are somebody who is looking to build a global network, does it have the right mix of class? So all of these are great questions. And then the other question, which I think we're going to discuss as well ahead of time, is the network of employers. What do I want to do after the program? Where do I want to work? So all of those, if you don't know the answers yet, one way to explore that is through the alumni from those schools.
Absolutely. Natalie, what would you like to add to that?
Yes, I was thinking also that definitely if you already have a clear plan that will help out what is the best program for you. If you don't know yet, then maybe you can explore programs in general management or general courses, as opposed to the very specialized program, which you might end up not liking. So I think it's good to have that question in mind when you start the search. And then, of course, you have to ask yourself, what is my personality? What are the type of work on? Also, you can look at the duration of studies. Some students want to spend as much time as they can in school, while some are really motivated by working as soon as they can. So I think that can also be an indication of type of program can be a good. And of course, what jobs are available in the career plan that they have in mind, because maybe they think that the work market is changing all the time, and they might be having different careers, and they might have to retrain in the future, gaining more skills. So it's not be all and all. I think it's really about learning throughout their lives and trying to find what's right in the moment, at least.
Absolutely. I want to pivot to work and employment post studies in a second, but you mentioned some key things there, both of you. Talking to alumni and current students. How might somebody find these people?
Good question. I think social media, LinkedIn is a great way to start. As I just a little earlier, when you go on LinkedIn, for example, if you type the name of our schools, it will bring you to this university page where you will have on the left, people, alumni, when you click on alumni, and if you type in Vancouver, for example, it will give you a list of alumni in your city. So reaching out to those individuals, it's great. And be honest, just say, I'm thinking about going to your school. I would like to hear a little bit more about your experience. What did you do before the program? What are you doing now? Learn about the student culture. I think alumni in your specific cities that went through these programs are a great resource. And a lot of them that went to our schools, if they are in Canada, I guarantee you they'll be so eager to talk to you about our schools and their experience. So I think that's one of the great ways to engage with them. If you go to events in your cities, the fairs, quite likely they'll have alumni there as well to learn about the student experience. So those are a couple ways that I would encourage everyone to try out.
Definitely alumni. I mean, they're the living proof that a program is worth its salt, right? That it's worth doing. So
right.
You can alumni, either by LinkedIn or even asking, representatives from the school, hey, would it be possible to get in touch with some alumni? That's a great way to know what their experience was like and what the results were. Maybe Natalie, I'll ask you to a little bit about current students. How might you contact current people currently in the program, up to date in what's going on?
Of course, that's actually really to find on the main webpage for ESCP. For each program, you have a page dedicated to student ambassadors. And there are current students that have their LinkedIn page connected with the school's website. And you can reach out to them, send them an email. They're very happy to answer questions on the program and on the school. So it's a very direct way of reaching out to them. Maria just mentioned, of course, if you go on to ESCP LinkedIn page, you also get thousands of alumni that you can also contact. I encourage you to go on social networks, definitely on Facebook. We have you have a poll for some of our degrees student society that you can join. Contact students and get some feedback on the school from Franck.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of schools do that, having student ambassadors, people who are currently in the program that are available to answer your questions. And it's a great way to get to know from the perspective of someone your own age who is like going through the same experience that you're about to, and versus somebody who's, working there. And it does seem like LinkedIn's a great resource. Now, for those of you who are a little bit more advanced in your careers, in your late 20s, 30s, 40s, you probably are already using LinkedIn. But for those of you who are not, maybe you're like 17 or 22 or something like that, highly recommended that you develop your account on LinkedIn, whatever industry, whatever field you intend to go in, whether it be business or medicine or engineering. It's always great to have a good network. It is a very powerful tool. And as you start to get into it, I think you'll find it's kind of fun. It has a newsfeed like Facebook, and you can learn a lot of things, connect with a lot of people around the world, showcase what you know and think about, which always kind of makes you, I think, look good to an employer if they can see, some interesting things that you're thinking about. Yeah, it's more or less like Facebook, the newsfeed, without people sending pictures of their cats and their lunch. So definitely an important resource to develop. And while you're young, you have time on your side and can invest a little bit of time, each week or whatever, trying to grow your network, and you'll thank yourself in the future for having done so. All right, what else did I want to ask? Oh yeah, I wanted to kind of pivot to like job opportunities. So should someone studying in France plan to work in France after their degree, and does it guarantee a work visa? What can we talk about that in terms of opportunities after having studied here?
I'll go first because
go ahead, Maria.
So it's not a guarantee, right? Just because you study in France, it's not a guarantee that you'll find a job there. but you can focus on more of multinational companies, because usually those are the ones that are going to have the means to sponsor, the framework to hire you. If you fall in love with a startup in Paris, they may not have the funding or the framework to hire you. So it's important to start with schools that already have a good network of employers that have the experience to sponsor students to work in France or in Europe or in other countries in the world. So to give our example of our school, you know, we always, every year we publish on our website employment stats. So that gives you an idea of the types of companies that hire our students, the industries, the job functions, the regions of the world where they ended up finding opportunities, where they're coming from, and then where they ended up being placed. So that's always a great resource for you to look and to see what the school resources and job placement history is. And that will give you a more realistic kind of landscape, what job opportunities look like after you graduate. But business school in general are pioneers in career development. So they're always going to have a career coach or a leadership coach or both that can help you strategizing, you know, about where you want to find an opportunity after you graduate. So you're not going to be navigating on your own. So the moment you arrive on campus, these resources will be available to you, and you'll be engaged with that employer engagement team or career coach or both. So take advantage of those. But it's definitely not a guarantee that you'll find an opportunity after graduation. It does require a little bit of strategy and work on your part. And of course, you'll have the school that you be partnering with in that journey.
Yeah, career service is really important, and they're usually the most up to date on like the legal aspect in terms of like the visa and your right to live and work here as a non-citizen. Of course, well, we're talking to Canadians mostly, I guess. So yeah, that would be the case. I'm also cognizant of the time that's kind of rolling. I'm not sure if you have questions from the audience, but I do want to ask Natalie one more question before we turn to the audience for questions. Now, what about somebody coming to study in France that wants to come back to Canada? What about, like, maybe you could talk about accreditation or credit transfer equivalency? Like, how does it work? Will they be able to find a job, and is their degree in France valid in Canada if they want to come home?
I can answer. Regarding your previous question, actually, I want to answer with a resounding yes, that yes, you should definitely stay in France and get some practical experience after your studies, because as Maria just mentioned, that schools have very strong cooperations with companies here. So it's most you would be able to find a schools network. Right now, you have a policy regarding post-study visas, which is also quite advantageous. Temporary residence permit of 12 months, so you can stay in France 1 year after your master's degree, and I think that's a great opportunity to try and get work experience in France. France being home to most of some international corporations in sectors such as finance, insurance, consulting, you may get very interesting opportunities there. And also the tech scene is growing, and it's competing more and more. So it can become also of interest for startups, for example. So I would definitely encourage students to stay. As far as the accreditations, I think most of the business schools that are in the top have the accreditations such as AACSB or EFMD. There is a recognition. If you decide to go back to Canada after your studies, most likely it will be equivalent to a degree that you're in Canada. So, of course, the standards for higher education are very much for our programs.
Okay. We have a couple of questions from the audience. I'm not sure if Franck is ready to jump in and ask them, because I think he's the one managing them. Looks like Franck
Exactly.
is with us
Thanks
now. Hey,
very
Franck,
much.
welcome back.
Thank you. That was very, very interesting. Obviously, thanks very much, Maria, Natalie, and Eric. We do have some questions. Well, some of them came during the course of the presentation, and then got answers by yourself with the comment you made. I gathered some questions that I can sum up in one sentence. And I understand I put myself as a student in Canada, where there are different options for me should I decide to go abroad overseas. Either studying in States or England, where the language barrier doesn't exist, or to consider France, even though we know that all the programs we're talking about are taught in English. But what would be the competitive advantage? What would be you partially answered to that, but if in Maria and Nathalie, in few words, you would say, well, you have a student in front of you and say, well, I might consider going to Ivy League or Cornell or whatever. Why should I go to INSEAD? Why should I go to ESCP? So what would be for you guys, the starting point, I would say, if you want to talk into marketing jargons, that you will put ahead so that people might consider more like your school or any other schools?
Who wants to go first? I will go first. I think if you've never studied abroad, you should do it. You should definitely do it. I think one thing COVID has taught us thus far is that we need more global collaboration. So I would say absolutely do a study abroad, whether it's a master's or an MBA, or if you're an undergrad student, it's a great opportunity to learn from others who are very different. It's an experience that will stay with you forever. It will never go away. That experience of being abroad, even if you come back to Canada, it's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. The connections you make in those countries with a lot of these programs will not just be people from France, will be students from all over the world, which is a way for you to build a global network. After your master's or MBA or undergrad, you're always going to have a network of individuals. And what we find is in schools that have this global class, they stay very connected. At INSEAD, even though the program is very short, after years, they're still connecting. They're still having reunions. They're still going to each other's weddings all over the globe. So I would say it's a great way for you to get out there in the world and start building your global network. So if you never get out of Canada, and if this is your first time, do it. It will be a great experience in your life. For those of you who are thinking about an international career, then don't even think twice, just do it, because it's a great way for you to have generally schools have companies that are global partners, and so they can place you anywhere in the world you want to be, whether it's in France or anywhere outside in Europe. So I definitely would not even think twice about it. If it's something you've been dreaming, just take the courage, engage with the schools, reach out to alumni, research the websites, and start making those face-to-face or online contacts.
Totally agree.
Thank you, Nathalie.
Yes, I completely agree with Maria, and also that France offers attractive students. So I think if you're comparing how much you would pay for an Ivy League in the US or even a top business school in Europe, I think the cost will be significantly less.
Okay, Nathalie, I'll speak very slowly for the next one, so try to read my lips. prior to the COVID, remember that we used to have some MBA fairs, and obviously a lot of those events have switched online. And Maria, Nathalie, you most likely were part of those fairs. Do you think that those fairs will come back? Would you have like international like physically, like going to the country, meeting the people? If so, when do you think that will happen? And another question linked to that as well is, what is the major issue you have having only online contact with the students? Do you miss something when it's through the screen that you do those introduction presentation?
Yes, they're definitely coming back. For Canada, we're signed up for Access MBA, that it's coming up in November. For North America, for the US, I think I sign up New York and DC at the end of October, beginning of November. I have a couple events that I'll be doing at the San Francisco hub for INSEAD, which is our innovation center. Things we miss the most, obviously, is seeing you face to face and having eye contact and your smile and making those personal connections. That is the one thing that we miss the most, because that's what keeps us coming back to the different cities. Obviously, Zoom has been a big saving us from still having the connection, and we do a lot of online events. Will continue to do those throughout this coming academic year, but definitely we're starting to do some of the in-person events. Some of my colleagues in Asia are already doing some, and in Europe as well. So we're hoping that the situation will start improving, but maybe even some type of hybrid event where we are in person, but then it's also being broadcast through the world. So lots of ideas and trying to be creative so that we keep engaging with prospects.
Thank you, Maria.
Yeah, I can confirm that we're already starting the face-to-face events. Participated in the fair just a few days ago, and we're planning some countries in the month of October. So we're going to Morocco, to Egypt, to Jordan. So we're starting again little by little, and hopefully in the next few months it will be a bit back to normal somewhat, and definitely works for to some extent, but as you can see, it's not the best way of in people. So the face-to-face connection, we hope to have more of that in the coming weeks and months.
Thanks, man. Obviously, thanks very much, Nathalie. Just to wrap up and maybe to finish, it's more common than a real question, I guess. You mentioned before that it's always good for students who might consider, who are considering studying abroad overseas, to contact you. And then as well, as you mentioned, Nathalie and Maria, about the ambassador, schools ambassador that might have like alumni, or again, mentioning about those MBS fairs. I know that in Vancouver, we have this local association, which is just association by name. It's just a group of students from Grandes Écoles, basically those MBS programs. But that's open to any alumni, and we gather because I'm part of it every month. What I'm saying is that you might consider as well local, and that's you to look for those structure in your city. Something in Toronto as well, Montreal for sure. It's you as well, either through the school itself or locally by checking on the Facebook what those groups of alumni from those schools. So and then you to ask and join for one session. That's one meeting gathering. That's totally open. Actually, in Vancouver, it is totally open. So if there are any people listening and willing to go to the event, just come and join on the Facebook. You will see the Grandes Écoles in Vancouver. I want to thank you all very much again for your time. Sorry for this technical issue, and Nathalie, you did your very best. Thanks very much. You went through that thing. Maria, thank you for your time. Eric, very good. Of course, I knew it, but in animating this session. You did mention about Campus France. Thank you very much. I forgot that in my introduction, but obviously the key point, the point of reference is Campus France. Sorry, you have all those kind of information, and obviously people on the other side of the screen. If you need any help, go and check. I'm talking to the audience. Go and check these MBS fairs. That thanks very Maria coming back on live, and we're so happy to have them. I remember that Natalie said the money is the key point as well. So if you consider studying abroad, yes, it can make a difference if you come to France. That is one of the key elements you want to have in mind, and that would be a perfect transition for the next conference. We're going to open the session in a few minutes. It would be after you made your decision, listening to a great panelist that actually you will consider going to France. Obviously, there are some visa aspect and financial information you need to have as well in mind before you finalize your decision. And that is the topic for the next conference. Eric, I leave the mic for you to wrap up. I thank you again very much, all the people who participate in this or listening first this conference, and you participating and contributing to the great exchange. Thank you very much, Maria. Have a great morning, end of morning for you in Wisconsin. Natalie, great of day. Eric, I will see you later on, but I just pass on the mic to you to wrap up and finish that session. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Frank. I want to thank also my two panelists, Maria Reis and Nathalie Quintin Bezilus, if I pronounced that correctly. I think I am not mistaken to say that if anyone in the audience wants to ask additional questions to any of us, you can find us on LinkedIn. Maria's name is not posted there. Her last name is Reis, R-E-I-S. You have the spelling for mine and Natalie's names are a little bit more complicated, but we're happy to do any follow-up questions and answers via LinkedIn. Wish you guys a great day and rest of the conference. There's plenty more sessions coming up today as well as tomorrow, so I'll be seeing you there hopefully. Take care.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.